So this one's gonna be again about stoicism and not anger, but I've just read anger, therefore I just have anger in my mind. So we're just going to talk about stoicism and a guide to a good life, or whatever the book was actually called. I don't know, but stoicism is amazing. The whole book is amazing, the whole article is amazing, and or the whole summary is amazing. It really is. But yeah. But yeah. And with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And I'm so fucking pumped to be here, actually, even though I was just pondering around a little bit just before I actually started the whole recording. I don't know why, but as I'm just sitting now here, it's just amazing to be back, especially because I'm not getting so overwhelmed at the time, just because I only record one episode and I only upload one episode. But I might do it in a different fashion, that I'm actually going to record a little bit more each time, so that I do just have some access videos that I can then just upload, and or that I'm going to upload and then just name and whatever it will then be, so that I can use them if I do not have any time, or if there's something going on, or if something is broken, or whatever. There are so many various things that can actually happen, which then lead me to actually not having an episode for one day, which is something that I do not want to have. Therefore, might actually be a good idea. The problem there is, of course, it's going to take some time, and of course, it's also going to be just a little bit of stress for me. But yeah. So to actually finish, maybe we'll even gonna finish this today, but I don't know. I really don't. I by the way hope that the lighting is quite good. It is somehow a little bit shallow, at least on this side. But yeah, shouldn't really be that bad. So we're going ahead with On Seeking Fame, which is actually the next point in this little kind of basic guide, I guess. Well, yeah, I think I'll just start ahead and start to read. So with social status comes the external goal to please others, says Epictetus, because to win their admiration means to adopt their notion of success. To avoid enslaving ourselves when dealing with other people, we need to be indifferent to what they think of us. So if I'm just understanding this correctly, it is just all about giving a fuck what anybody says, but you, basically, because obviously what you think about yourself is definitely important, if you like yourself, if you just hate yourself, if you just, think that what you're doing and whatsoever is just good or the best thing you can ever do or whatsoever, or if you just think about yourself as a piece of shit, which I hope is not the case, because you are not a piece of shit. But definitely what other people think of you is not really important. It is really not important. The thing there is, people just give a fuck about it, people just care about it, even though they sometimes say like, okay, no, I do not give a fuck about what people say and whatsoever. It is just really, at my point of view, at least for me, I'm still in the progress and also in the process of actually trying to give a fuck about what everybody is saying but myself. The thing there is, of course, when your spouse says something, or when your just closest friends say something, well, it is a little bit tough to not just listen to them, to just give a fuck about what they're saying. It is what it is, and you still just also have to give a fuck about this in the real end. But it is very difficult, at least I've experienced it, just because sometimes I'm thinking in a way that I actually give a fuck about what people say, what they think, and whatever, which should not be the case. But it is some subconscious fucked up shit. Therefore, I'm still in progress. I'm gonna tell you how I've actually done it in the end, which would be interesting. But yeah, I'm going ahead with the next one, which is actually something very important as well, and something very interesting as well. I'm having just a lot of fluid in my mouth, and it is really not the best thing for talking. But yeah, so on luxurious living, because I assume, just before I'm actually reading it, I assume that all these Stoics are not really about well, having luxury in their life, or they are really not about kind of having a luxurious life or whatsoever. I somehow think like they just really have, well, they just, well, yeah, I'm gonna see it. I do just think that they're not just actually kind of striving for just such a luxurious life, but we will see, as I said. So wealth can bring physical luxuries and pleasures of the senses, but it can never bring us contentment or banish our grief. Definitely the case. The real danger is that if we are exposed to a luxurious lifestyle, we might lose our ability to take delight in simple things. We become hard to please and celebrate our newly found inability to enjoy anything but the best. In reality, of course, this simply impairs our ability to enjoy life. For Seneca, our financial goal should be to acquire an amount that does not descend to poverty and yet is not far removed from poverty. Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I think this is just one point where you just can say and have to say, okay, Seneca and Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius have of course lived, just a relatively long time ago. The thing there is, times have changed and whatsoever. Still, what they say and what he's talking about, it is still applicable. You can still apply to your life, of course, and it is still actually the case. If you just have a lot of money, I assume at least because I'm not having such a lot of money, then I guess, actually finding delight or taking delight in these very, very simple things is getting pretty tough, because you're used to having the best. You're used to having just, a lot of things that nobody else has, or just at least not a lot of people have. Still, or because of that, I do think that it could actually be the case that actually living, I do not really want to say that's living in poverty is just a good thing, just because you can then take delight from very simple things or in very simple things. But the thing is, I don't know. I don't believe that people just need such a lot of money especially when you're happy and especially when you're just really having a good life and you're just living your dream, then it doesn't really matter how much money you have, unless your dream somehow, unless your dream is somehow correlated to money or just having a lot of money, then, then it gets complicated. But still, I believe what they are saying or what he's saying there is just totally right. Which is pretty interesting, because these are just some things that people have been thinking about for fucking years, for hundreds of thousands of fucking years. Well, thousands of years. Maybe not hundreds of thousands of years, but still for just a really fucking long time. And this is then just, pretty interesting to see, okay, these things just still matter. These things just still are things you can be talking about in our present society. Just amazing. Really amazing. On surviving a change of place. Okay. To endure and thrive away from home, Musonius, which seems to be another Stoic, says we must remember that happiness depends on our values and not where we reside. The thing there is, what does reside mean? This is the thing. Reside in, flats and other long-end colon, live in, occupy, inhabit, have one's home. So he basically says, if I'm just understanding this correctly, it doesn't really matter where you're living, unless you somehow change your values or somehow your values are correlated to where you're living, which means, okay, if your values are like, okay, I want to have a really nice house just, in front of the sea or something, or by the sea, or on the Bay Area, or whatsoever, then of course, actually, having a house in Austria is not going to be the best thing to have, just because there is no fucking sea. Yeah. But the thing there is, and I guess it's just what he actually wants to say, is that values can be changed. You can totally change your values, and you can totally just think about your values and evaluate them maybe. And by changing them and by just, thinking about them and evaluating them, you're then also able to just live everywhere and be happy, I guess, because your values are then so changed that, okay, that's no matter where you're living, everything is fine, unless certain things. On celebrating being old, Seneca argues, let us cherish and love old age, for it is For it is full of pleasure if one knows how to use it. The most delightful time of life is when it is on the downward slope, but has not yet reached the abrupt decline. Well, I don't know. I really don't. Like, the most delightful time of life is when it is on the downward slope. Well, I wouldn't actually say so. I wouldn't really say so. I don't know. How you think about this? How do you think about this? I think it's pretty difficult to say just because I am not old, just because I haven't lived life. But still, what do you think about it? Just, either just write it down in the comments, or if you're just listening to the podcast episode, then hit me up. Would be really, really, really interesting and nice. But yeah, on youth, in our youth, we assume we will live forever and take our days for granted, wasting many of them in our old age. Waking up each morning can be a reason to celebrate. If God is pleasant to add another day, we should become it with glad hearts. We should welcome it with glad hearts. I'm sorry if I haven't read it correctly. I think it is actually the case. Nowadays I'm just, even though, I'm such a person, I'm still just really, really, really kind of basically counting the days that went by and whatsoever, just because I'm in my holidays right now. And I at least guess this is just a big part of me actually thinking about this. At least when I'm healthy, when I'm healthy and I'm doing fine and everything is good, then I'm just really thinking about the days that really go by, But when I'm just ill or when I'm not feeling good or whatsoever, I think days and weeks and whatsoever just feel a little bit longer, I assume. And then you just really are like, I guess, relatively present, I would say. You're not thinking about a lot of things that might have been in the past, maybe, or in the future, just because you're so present through your illness, through whatever it is. Still, I totally believe that just being older, and when you are of an older age, that you're really thinking about it in a different way. That you're really glad and hopeful. Well, not hopeful, but grateful for every day that you just get, because, especially when you're just really old, like 90 or 100, I guess it could just always be the day, unfortunately. But yeah, I do assume that every single day, unless you're just really not feeling good, is, well, a gift. Let's see, on a good end to a good life. By contemplating their own death, Stoics fully understand that their days are numbered and seek the most out of life. Those who have lived without a coherent philosophy in life, however, might want to delay death, so they can claim back the value they have wasted. Well, yeah, and something that also plays in it is actually not regretting something or having nothing to regret when you're dying, I assume. Just because, I think the thing there is, it also depends on how you think about death and what you believe in. If you just truly believe that there is going to be something after death, I do not think that you're going to be just so mad at being dead or just dying just, pretty soon in the future. I assume, at least, I have fortunately not been in such a situation, but as I'm just thinking about it, well, yeah, okay, if I do not have any regrets, and if I just still think, okay, after death or after I've died, I'm still gonna live as somebody else or something else, whether it be an animal or actually a human being, or I'm gonna be in heaven or whatever, just why should I complain? For sure, I'm gonna miss my significant others, and I'm gonna miss just all the people around me. If there's actually something afterwards, why should I complain? Still, like, having regrets when you're dying is just, I think, one of the worst things there is. Just because you know that you're not able to do this any longer, just because you're going to die soon, which is then really fucked up. Because often I guess we think that we just have such a lot of time, as he actually or they actually pointed out as well. But in the end, it is maybe not really the case. And I think just actually counting every single day and just thinking about death and all those things a little bit more often also leads you to just be more grateful, even though you are young. And even though you might think, okay, there are going to be just a lot of days left for me. It can always be the day. You can always kind of die. And I'm really not hoping this for you or for any of your family members. I really hope. something just really fucked up, when family members die and whatsoever. Nothing good, unless they're just really so in pain, I guess, but so many variables. Still, like, you're gonna be grateful for every day you're having. You're waking up and feeling like, wow, I'm fucking alive. This just really reminds me of Les Brown, because in one of his motivational speeches, he was actually talking about this certain thing, or this particular thing. And he said that he always just stands up or gets up and feels like or thinks like and says like, well, another day, I'm really grateful for that. And I'm alive. Actually, his exact same words were, I'm alive, baby. I assume, if I remember right or correctly. But yeah, let's actually move on. Let's fucking move on. Stoics for modern lives. Without adopting a philosophy of life, there are lurking dangers. Misliving, spending our life pursuing the wrong goals, or pursuing worthwhile goals in a manner destined to make us fail. Our goal is not merely to survive and reproduce, but to enjoy a tranquil existence. With Stoicism, we can become more virtuous, experiencing fewer negative emotions such as anger, grief, disappointment, and anxiety. Meanwhile, we will also feel delight for the world around us. Practicing Stoicism takes far less effort than the effort one is likely to waste in the absence of a philosophy of life. So this actually seems to be the end of the whole read. It's been an amazing one. It's really been an amazing one. I deeply love this kind of thinking. I deeply love this this philosophy or philosophy of life, I would say. But yeah, let's actually move on with the conclusion, the key takeaways, further reading, and the action steps. I might just go through the action steps at first. Yeah. The first one is start practicing Stoicism in secret in order to avoid the outright mockery of your friends, relatives, and other people. They will always, they will always just tell you to not do things, even though they are pretty smart to do. They're always gonna just think or tell you okay, why you're doing this is just such a waste of time. Still do it. Still really do it. I've heard it myself with what I'm doing right here, with the episodes that I'm uploading, that I'm recording, everything that I'm doing right here. I've also heard okay, this is a waste of time. You should not be doing this. You should just rather be doing something else, practicing for school, doing something for school, ensuring that you're just, better in school or some things like this. This is just really common things that especially parents say. But I don't know. The thing is, for me, somehow it is very complicated to understand why. Because, maybe they do not know what I know. They do not know that what I'm doing here just definitely has some how do I say? Is it upfront? No, it is not upfront. Upfront is something different. There is an upside of it. There totally is, It is not really about me kind of doing something pointless here. There is definitely something, This is the internet, It also depends on how young your parents are and whatever, I assume, at least in such a case. But yeah, people will always tell you to not do things. Will always just look at you with, special eyes and tell you I don't believe in what you're doing. And whatsoever. It's always going to be the case, I guess. The second one is start with one Stoic technique, master it, and then go to the next one. Actually a pretty nice one. Pretty nice advice. The third one is visit your author's website for more resources on Stoicism. And the fourth one would be download the complete book on Amazon or buy it, when there is a buying option. And not only the ebook, right? So this summary is not intended as a replacement for the original book, and all quotes are credited to the above mentioned author and publisher. Then actually go ahead with the key takeaways. The whole structure there is a little bit off, I would say. Therefore, I always kind of just go through the action steps at first and then talk about the key takeaways, because somehow I do feel okay, the action steps should be just right after the whole summary. But yeah, the conclusion and key takeaways. Our mind suggests that we all find a philosophy to follow in our daily lives. I guess so, and I find it really amazing, that he actually points out everybody should have a life philosophy or a life philosophy, but it should but it should not always be Stoicism. Stoicism is one philosophy, Stoicism is one way of living. And I'm not even saying that, even though you're practicing Stoicism, that you should actually, just be pretty kind of extreme with it, or kind of do everything that they are saying or they were doing, just thinking about it. Just actually using your brain, using your head, using your resources that you're having, and to reevaluate and or evaluate whether it makes sense or not. Very important for me. The second is, or the next point is, Stoicism teaches indifference towards external events and equanimity in life's highs and lows. The third one is, stop taking for granted for the things you worked so hard to get. The next, all benefit and harm comes from ourselves and not from external things. This is actually a great point, and I do like the way he says it there, or it is somehow summarized there, just because, I think it is way more direct, and it just really kind of gets across the message in a different way, in a little bit better way in my point of view. But yeah, it is the case. It really depends on how you think about things. Of course, if you're just eating something, like you're eating something that you particularly don't really like, then you could think like, I don't like it, I hate my life, I don't want to eat this, and whatsoever. You could think that. Or you think about it in a different way, like, I'm pretty happy that I'm even having something to eat, because there's such a lot of people on this fucking planet that don't have anything to eat, nor to drink. But yeah, there are always just a few ways to think about certain things. Some people, as Gary Vee, for example, and I always refer to it actually, is perspective. Having perspective in life and seeing, going a little bit into depth, I would say, with what you're seeing and just thinking about various things and not just being like, pretty much blind, I'd say. But yeah, focus on what you can control, your goals, your values, your character. And not the weather, and not whether somebody did something that you do not like or did not like, and all these various other things. It is really about like yourself. This is where you can actually be selfish and actually think only about yourself, your goals, your character, your thinking, and whatsoever. Because you can control this. You can definitely control how you think about things, as we've been just talking about it before, as perspective. But yeah. So go through voluntary discomfort to appreciate what you already have, like taking cold showers so that you can actually remind yourself on the warm water you're having, and various other things, maybe eating something that you do not like just because, then you're going to enjoy the other things way more that you actually like. But yeah, the last one is, happiness depends on your values and not on your possessions. Definitely. If you value, if you value family and time with family and actually just being around your family and whatsoever, then actually being around your family is one of the best things you can do. Like, it would make sense. But if you don't value it, then it particularly wouldn't be the best thing to do for your happiness. Although it wouldn't just play into your happiness that much. But yeah, the last point we're going through are the further readings, which is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Actually also a book that I went through as well. Pretty amazing book. I think it is actually the singular one book from Ryan Holiday that I like the most, I would say. I don't know all of his books, for sure not, but yeah. So The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Holiday shows us how some of the most successful people in history have applied Stoicism to overcome difficult or even impossible situations. I think it's always going to be the case because it's such a great philosophy, and so many also present and modern entrepreneurs or high performers just use it. At least I think they actually use it because of what I see, of what I hear of, and of what I consume actually. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, also an incredibly good book. This book is a timeless collection of extended meditations and short aphorisms that has been consulted and admired by statesmen, thinkers and readers through the centuries. And the last one is the Guidelines book, which is actually the book of Paul Miners himself. Guidelines is my ebook that summarizes the main lessons from 33 of the best-selling self-help books in one place. It is the ultimate book summary, available as an 80-page ebook and 115-minute audiobook. Guidelines lists 31 rules or guidelines that you should follow to improve your productivity, become a better leader, to do better in business, improve your health, succeed in life, and become a happier person. Well, yeah, without actually unnecessarily stretching the episode, this is going to be the end of the episode. Because I somehow think that not all the people do just have the time for a 30-minute episode, especially when just a big part of it is just me talking about various things that not everybody is going to be interested in. Therefore, I'm going to end this episode there. I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and also success. And I as well hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered. So basically your legacy, because this is something we have in our hands, we have in control, even though, we can't serve everyone. And not everyone's gonna like us, nor love us. It is just what it is. But with that being said, I really have to thank you. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. I see you the next time.